Welcome to the Jacksonville Momcast, a podcast dedicated to telling the real stories of local Jacksonville moms. Sponsored by Jacksonville Beach Moms, each month we'll cover topics to help you navigate mom life on the First Coast. Thanks for joining us as we tackle all things motherhood and more with a focus on the 904. Welcome, Katie Werhner from Fig Willow Boutique. And let's start, Katie, by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Let's see, I have been in Jacksonville for almost 10 years now. An Alaskan native was where I was born. And then my family moved to Florida when I was pretty little. But I have been here. I'm married. My husband's Johnny, and we have 3 beautiful kids, Cade, Easton, and Piper.
And tell us a little bit about Fig and Willow.
Sure. So Fig and Willow was basically born because I wanted a place that was an easy, affordable shopping experience that had that boutique feel. And it was one thing that I felt like we didn't really have at the beaches. We kind of had to go to the town center for that. And I wanted kind of more of that local feel. And I was working for Steinmart headquarters. I was a buyer for them. And I had just had my first son. And I really did not want to go back to the corporate environment. I didn't want to have to travel and leave him every month. And so I decided to open up my own store. And that's kind of how Fig and Willow started. And then really I wanted to do it because I didn't really want to stay in Steinmart headquarters anymore. I wanted a little bit more flexibility. And then how I got kind of like the assortment and stuff was just based on the need that I felt like we had at the beaches area.
And what made you decide to open like a brick and mortar store versus strictly online?
Sure. I honestly never really had a vision of owning an online store. It was more the brick and mortar. I really like the interaction with people and the community and kind of being involved in the community. So I didn't do the online store until a year after we had the brick and mortar store open because people were coming and vacationing and wanting to shop online. So that was why we started the online store. But I always wanted brick and mortar really just for, being involved with the people. And I always like shopping in person because I do feel like you can feel the clothes and it's easier to try them on. And I just like that connection.
I am the same way. I love being able to like touch stuff and see what the fabric's like. But I can also appreciate people coming, loving your stuff, and then being like, ooh, but can I get it when I go back home? So that's nice that you added that.
Yeah, it was kind of an easy transition. So that was nice.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you mentioned wanting more affordable options for people out at the beach. What are some ways that Fig and Willow is different from other boutiques we have in town?
Sure. So I would say, for one, I think it's the price points. Being a busy mom of 3 and just a mom in general, I have a hard time spending a lot of money on my everyday items that are going to get spaghetti sauce on them or ripped, or, you're going to the soccer field. So I really wanted to focus on pieces that were really great quality. The quality hasn't sacrificed, but the price points are easy. They're not cheap. It's not like a Forever 21, but it's worth what you're paying for. And I would say you can buy most tops for like $52 to $58. And I feel like that just feels more approachable. I want to put great things in my closet, and I don't want to feel like I have to spend $2,000 a season in order to have some cute things to wear. So you can spend, whatever you wanted. You could buy a couple of things and spend $100 and have a couple new tops that you could alternate throughout the season, or, you could spend $1,000 and you would have like a whole new wardrobe. So you could kind of go either way. I just didn't want it to feel like you had to walk in and feel like you had to flip the price tag over to be like, well, can I shop in here? Can I not shop in here? So everything is under $200, and the majority of the stuff is under like $120, I would say.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think every mom can relate to not wanting to splurge on yourself. Like, I think that's just like
becomes ingrained as soon as you have to start buying diapers and
Yeah,
all those baby clothes.
Yeah, we spend a lot of money on kids and things that aren't for you. So, I think every once in a while it's great to splurge on certain things if it's something that you love, but for your kind of everyday lifestyle, those things that can make you feel amazing, they don't have to be super expensive, which I think is important.
That's such a great philosophy.
Yeah.
So you've been in business since 2016.
Yes.
It's been a wild couple of years. How have things changed for you over the last couple of years?
I saw a shift. We had to shut down for a month, and that is always really hard, but we definitely shifted. And that was kind of when the online store, I would say, started to do a little bit better. And we just started to, even me as a consumer, if I don't have to go into a store, I would rather get something delivered now. So we did a little bit more focus on the online store. The tourism had stopped for a little bit, so the Neptune Beach store was pretty slow. But we still had like our amazing local community and, our favorite customers who would come back all the time. And truly that is what kept us here. If we didn't have that support, we would have never made it through the pandemic. So it's really been amazing. I think the community is awesome. I think everybody supports and loves the local businesses around here. And that's kind of what keeps everybody thriving. Wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So we just really tried to focus on our, people and what they wanted and just giving them the things that they needed. So, and, in the time, we're not going to deliver ball gowns when nobody was going anywhere. So we would do a lot of loungewear sets and focus on, just like easy, comfortable, everyday things that you could wear, not leaving your house. And so I think just shifting and knowing your environment and knowing what's going on around you really helps when you focus on that, what people actually are wanting in their closet at the time. That definitely helps kind of get us through the tough times.
Have you seen in the last, I'm going to say year, as people have been going back into the office, going back out in public, did you see a shift back towards more like workwear or like less loungy, or are people still shopping for loungewear?
Yes, I definitely saw a shift. I think people were ready to not wear the, elastic sweatpants all the time. I think it's still a pretty good mix, but I think people have a lot of that stuff. And so I think people are just ready to get dressed and get out there. And when you're going out there, you kind of want to feel like you're presentable and a little put together. So yeah, people are buying denim, they're buying dresses. We don't have a lot of the lounge stuff anymore, but I don't think it's ever going to go away. But I think people were just ready for some more of that, like back in the office and, meeting with friends and stuff and wanting to get dressed. So it definitely has shifted from the casual back to a little bit more of the dressy every day.
And I know for a while when people were, just kind of starting to get back out there, at least for us and our family, it was always very intentional. Like it wasn't like, oh, we're just going to go eat out. It's like, okay, we're going to meet with friends. We haven't seen them in a while. So it was kind of like, you don't want to wear like the same stuff you've been wearing around the house for the last year and a half. You're like, ooh, I get to go out and see my people.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a little mix where I think people still want comfort. So you might be wearing some cute jogger pants that have elastic waist, but you're going to put like a nice top and you could even wear a jacket with it. So I think it's just kind of mixing those highs and lows. And comfort is always going to be in style. So it's just not, wearing your pajamas, but you can still wear jogger pants or sweatpants and just style them differently. And they're super cute to go out.
Absolutely. And one of the things I love about what you offer is there's so much versatility to mix and match. And if people don't follow you on social media, they should, because you guys put up great pictures and videos, reels and stories that have like sample outfits and so many combinations I would never even think of.
Oh yeah, thanks. That is one of the things that I love the most. I love doing the social media and helping with the outfit styling. I think that is where people struggle the most. What shoes do I wear with these kind of bottoms? Or, okay, I got these like printed pants. What other ways can I style them? So that's one of the things that I feel like I love the most, is just kind of helping. This was your favorite piece that you wanted to buy, and then let me show you how you can style it multiple ways, which I think is important.
And so that's a perfect segue, because I was going to ask you what you love about owning your own shop. So other than that, what are some of your favorite things about owning your own boutique?
Yeah. I mean, I would say probably number one is the flexibility. I love being able to be my own boss, and I never thought that would happen. With three little kids, they're 6, 4, and 2. So we're in like the baby phase, or toddlers, I guess. So it's just busy, and it's nice to be able to work from home if I need to, and I can go if I need to, or I can be home if they have a fever. Like this week, my daughter's been sick all week, and so I've had to be here. And so I just think that was my most important thing for wanting to open up my own store was, not being in that corporate environment and having something more flexible, and even all of the girls at the store, it's if they get sick, sometimes we have to close the store early because they're sick. They have to go home. It kind of is what it is. I mean, everybody has a family emergency. We're a super tight family, and we just kind of go with the flow. You can't predict those kind of things. And so sometimes you close for the day and it's fine. If you were in corporate, it wouldn't be that way. So that's one of the things that I love, being able to share that with the team. And then social media, I love being able to be a mom and be creative at the same time. I'm basically like a half stay-at-home mom, half business owner. So I get to kind of have the best of both worlds.
That's so awesome. And it's so great that you've been able to kind of find that balance. I think that's something that a lot of business owners and moms struggle with, is just getting in that groove.
Yeah, it is hard. I would say I'm super organized. I'm a very type A. I like to write everything down that I have to do, and I kind of don't sleep until I get it done. And it's probably not the healthiest or best way to do it, but that is just how my brain works. And that's how I really make sure I get everything done. And I even put on my list, like shoes for the kids, or, payments for school, or finding a certain vendor. I mean, it just all goes on the list. And then that way I just make sure I somehow mark them all off. It might take me a week, but I'll get to it.
It's funny. I was going to ask you if you were a list maker, because I live by the list. So
yes.
I can feel that.
And I use Trello. I don't know if you've ever heard of Trello. It's like a shared app. So I use it for the store and I use it personally. And that is what I put all of my to-dos on. I have a today list. I have a later list that I can put things off. And then I have like monthly lists of things. I mean, it's pretty intense on some things, but it really helps me. I'm a very routine person, and I like to kind of do the same things. And if I don't have it down on the list, I kind of forget what I'm supposed to do. So I do certain things on Mondays, certain things on Tuesdays. I try to do kid days on Wednesdays. So I just try to that's how I would say I try to fit everything in.
That's a great tip. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So what's your least favorite part about owning your own boutique?
I would say probably the stress of it. There's always some drama. There's always going to be some store drama. There's always going to be some customer drama. You're going to get the DMs or the emails from people that are unhappy and like negative reviews and stuff. And that just really eats me up. I mean, if somebody gives a negative review on something so small, sometimes, I think people forget that we are actual humans behind these businesses, and it's a small business, and that kind of stuff just always makes me feel bad. I feel like I didn't do a good job. I didn't serve them correctly, or I didn't give them the information that they needed. And then it just always makes me feel like I'm doing it wrong. So I would say that kind of stress and pressure is probably my least favorite part.
I think everybody probably hates that.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I am someone who always filters by the worst review, because I always feel like you can tell if they're about something not relevant. And I'm always like, oh, this place has like 3 negative reviews. And then I'll read them and be like, okay, yeah, I can live with all those things.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I do enjoy reading reviews, but I can totally see how that can eat at you.
Yeah.
On a personal level.
Yeah.
So the Beaches Town Center is where your flagship store is that you opened originally. Mm-hmm. That area has seen a lot of change, a lot of growth, some turnover over the last, 5, 6, 7 years. As a business owner, how have you seen that area evolve?
So like I said, I've been in Jacksonville for a little over 10 years. And when I first came here, it was completely different from how it is now. When I opened the store, it was pretty consistent with what it is. But I've seen a lot more restaurants and boutiques and businesses come in. And I think that it's amazing. You know, we now have the local restaurant, which is right across from us where it used to be the 7-Eleven, and that changed since we were open. And that just helps business. I mean, it helps having more of a destination for people to go shopping and eating. And then, you know, people just kind of walk around, and almost every single business that is in that area is local too, which I think is just so amazing. You really don't find a lot of towns that have that. And I think that's one thing that's so special about the Neptune Beach, Atlantic Beach area. And some of the turnover, it's sad. You know, it's sad that I think it's only really been like 2 to 3 that I've seen that have kind of come and go in that area. But it was a decision that they sometimes made, you know, better themselves. But I think the area in general is always turning out for the better. I think we just have amazing things coming in, and I think people now go there for a destination, and I think that's amazing for the area.
And I love that not only are the shops primarily local, but also the restaurants. Like there's no real big chains in there, and it is just such a great little pocket.
Yeah, I think that's why people go there shopping a lot. Is you eat at these amazing local restaurants, and then you plan it. You're like, hey, I'm going to go eat at Flying Iguana, and then I'm going to go walk around and shop. And then in the holiday season, I think it's even more so because it is all local. And we do a lot of fun things in the area for holidays. And I think it just feels really special. And I feel super blessed and grateful to even be a part of that. I mean, it was like the last spot open. And that's kind of what also drove me. I was like, well, they have an opening. So for sure, I have to open up this store because it's meant to be.
And you mentioned a little bit about that area being, and the beaches, I would say in general, being a pretty tight-knit community vibe. Do you feel that as a business owner? And do you feel like that's one of the things that's kind of helped with your success?
I do. Yeah. I think that everybody has pulled together. It's definitely community over competition. And I think everybody, you know, people will come in and they say, oh, you know, are there any other shops around? And I'm like, yes. You know, there's these all over here. And so I think all of us are kind of on that same mindset. We're all here, you know, for the same purpose. It's fun. It's not competitive. And I just really feel that vibe in the town center. I think everybody kind of just feels that same thing. I think we've all worked together. We've done giveaways together. You know, we've done collaborations and marketing. I think everybody is amazing.
And I think it really is a testament when there are events down there. Like I know there's the trunk or treat, and I know there's some stuff at Christmas. It seems like everybody participates. And I'm sure there's a few that can't or don't, but it really feels like probably 90% of the shops and businesses participate in events like that. And that's just so great to see as a resident.
Yeah, I don't think that that's very common, you know? I mean, I think that everybody kind of participating in this is great. And we do have quite a bit. Like you said, we do the trunk or treats. People will stay open. We do the dancing in the streets and everything's closed. They have the Donna run there, you know, and people will do fun window displays. And it really is awesome.
That's so cool. Okay, so let's talk about your second location. In November 2020, you opened a second location in San Marco. And now for everybody listening, November 2020, there were not a lot of new brick and mortar stores opening. A lot of companies at that point were shutting down after, you know, having to do closures and limited staff. So what made you decide to do that?
And call me crazy. I mean, it was a very sad time, you know, because a lot of businesses were going under. It was scary. I don't know what I was thinking. My goal is to have 5 stores. So that is kind of my goal that I want to push for. And I don't know if it was like the November time period because I had opened the Neptune Beach in November, but I just started thinking about it. And then same thing, there was a spot that was open. And I thought, if I don't take it now, it probably won't be available. And it was such a great spot. And so it just kind of pushed me forward, which was the same thing that I did for Neptune. I try not to think about all of the negative things. And I really just kind of focus on the positive of, I can do it. I can figure it out. It'll work. And then if it doesn't, I mean, it's okay. You know, we'll be fine if it doesn't work out. So it has been amazing. And so I'm so happy that I did it. And I had the support of my husband, who's amazing. He would take the kids. We would go down there and work late. I mean, we ripped up all of the floors in there by ourselves. And I think it's fun. It's a fun memory. It's fun to kind of push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And, we kind of already had the branding from Neptune Beach and the marketing. And so a lot of people had known our name. And so I felt a little bit easier doing it because I didn't feel like we were starting from scratch. We had a lot of people who already shopped with us who lived in the San Marco area. And so it kind of flowed nicely. And then we had this grand opening party, and there was in the middle of the pandemic, and so many people showed up, and it just made me feel so loved and like wanted in the community. And it felt amazing. So yeah, it was kind of like a wild leap of faith, but it's really worked out. And, all the team and everybody, we've really pushed a lot of marketing, and it has been a good decision. So we're not having to close, which is good.
That's excellent. And that San Marco area does have a very similar feel to the Beaches Town Center, that it's got, a lot of independently owned shops and restaurants.
Yes. So and that's one thing is like, as I open up stores, I really want to keep them in the same vibe. I would never go into a mall or anything that felt like it wasn't us. Like I want it to be in these little local towns.
And do you want to do all of them in North Florida, or have you looked at other?
I don't know. I am thinking of opening one in Nocatee.
Okay.
And then I might do one from where I was from, which is Anna Maria Island, where I grew up. And then I don't know what we'll see how it goes. We'll see how busy it is doing them, having 3 here, and if I would want to branch out or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. So I'd have to really think about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I know you do probably most of the buying for the store, and you did talk a little bit about pricing, but how do you kind of decide what you want to stock in the shops?
Yeah. When it started, I went into my closet and looked at some of my labels that I loved in there. And it was something that I had never really paid attention to until I was going to have to find these brands for the store. So I started there, and I found some amazing brands that I like to wear. And then, I go to market, I'll do the Atlanta market, and I do the Vegas market twice a year, as long as every child is healthy and I can leave. But that's kind of how I started it. And then it really is, I would say that I am a customer. And so I think a lot of our customers resonate with the things that I like or wear and style. So I really just try to think of, if I would wear it, how I'd style it, how I can get multiple uses out of it. So it's not overly trendy. It's truly kind of like that everyday, easy with some fun, trendy pieces kind of mixed in. But it is, definitely like wardrobes that you can wear again and again is probably my main goal. And then following suit would be the price points, is just trying to make sure that we stay under that certain price point.
And I think a lot of people, if they don't know Fig and Willow and they haven't shopped with you, it's definitely a great place if you're looking for like more of a time capsule wardrobe. And like you mentioned, like things you can mix and match and you can wear different seasons. You guys have a great selection of a lot of those like higher end basics is basically the way I kind of think of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So we try to do it quarterly. So we're in the middle of kind of putting together some style guides for a quarter. So there's like key pieces that we feel like are the most important to focus on. And so if you just wanted to buy 5 things for the fall season, you could buy a flannel, a jacket, a pair of denim, a bodysuit, and a button down. And then you can mix and match those all different ways and come up with a bunch of different outfits. And so it's definitely creating like a little capsule. And then you can add more as you want, but I think you can pare it down and just have, 5 to 7 things. And then those are the things that we like to focus on. Not necessarily basics, but like elevated basics. So, it's not just a tank top, but it might have a little bit more detail to it. Something that just feels fun and new, but not overly trendy. We're not in New York. We don't need to have, these crazy outfits.
Yep, absolutely. And not overly expensive as well.
Right.
So you have the online shop and you have the 2 brick and mortar stores. Talk to us a little bit about how online availability works. And is it pretty much the same as what we see in the store? Is it different? Do you have like a total, like, do you have stuff stored in a storage unit somewhere you got to go pull from? Or, how do you manage and balance that?
Yeah. So both of the stores have their own inventory. And then we started to split off the online inventory. So in the beginning, when I first opened the online store, it was all shared inventory and we just had Neptune. So everything that was online was available in Neptune. And we would just pull from the floor because we didn't have like an extra facility and I didn't know how well the online store was going to do. And then as the online store has grown, a lot of it is its own inventory. So we have a bigger back room in San Marco, and that right now is where we run the online store out of. We're actually looking for a warehouse because I think we have some opportunity to expand it. We have 2 desks in that back room plus 2 full racks of online merchandise. So it's a little tight, but those are separate. And then there are some things that we do still share the inventory because, we want to have them available online, but they don't necessarily sell a ton enough to own your own inventory. So we share a little bit, but online does have its own inventory.
Does that get crazy to manage? Like, is that something like all in your head where you're like, oh, that's something we only have at the beach? Or is it, do you have a pretty good, I'm going to guess you have a pretty good system in place based on our previous talk about lists, but,
Yeah. Yeah, everything is pretty organized. We use Shopify and Shopify is amazing. And so if somebody buys something from online, it just instantly takes it out of the inventory. Same if it buys it and it sells it from the San Marco store, it just takes it out of the inventory. So we have to make sure that the store girls will pull it before somebody buys it from the floor, because that's the only time we would run into an inventory issue. But Shopify is amazing. I mean, it keeps track of everything. But buying, I have to try to figure out, should I buy this style separate for online? Do I think it's going to do good online, or should I just buy it for the stores? And I wish I had that crystal ball, but I do have a lot of buying experience. It's my whole career, but you just never know. I mean, there's some things that I buy for online and I think everybody's going to love it, and then it doesn't sell. And then there's some things I'm like, oh, I don't think they would like that. And then we share the inventory and it blows out. So I'm like, well, sometimes the crystal ball works and sometimes it doesn't.
What's the one thing you've shopped for the store and you've been the most surprised by how it did, either for good or bad?
So last holiday we did, because it was kind of coming off of the pandemic. And so I really didn't think anybody was really going to want to do holiday dressed up, but we did this whole holiday launch. We had these like glitter pants, glitter dresses, like really fun, dressy pieces. And we launched it on like a Wednesday night and they completely sold out in one night. And I was shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, I just did not expect that. I thought I was going to have to market these over and over and I would be left with them. But maybe it was just people were, they were ready to get dressed. And that shocked me, but in a good way.
That's great. That's a great story.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you love doing social media, which is funny to me because a lot of the moms I interview, that's one of the first things they outsource is social media. They're just like, I'm done. I've hired somebody to take over this. I think it's an easy handoff, but as a business owner, how do you decide, what you want to do yourself and what you're going to outsource to others? And is that hard for you to decide?
So in the beginning, as the business started to scale, we did the online store, I truly wrote down every single task that had to be done in the business. And then in your little Trello board, I can have a me list and I could have, a help list. And so I would just kind of pull over into my list the things that I really wanted to own and the things that I felt like were the best for the business for me to own, like the buying and, the marketing, operations, that kind of stuff. And then that was honestly when I took myself out of the stores. I used to work in the stores 24/7. But I thought there's so many things that I need to focus on the back end. And after I had my 3rd child, I couldn't necessarily be a shift cover anymore because somebody would have a fever, we'd have to close. And so, I definitely passed off the store. And that was the one thing that it was sad because I love being in there with all of the customers, but it was also what I feel like was best for the business at the time because I could do more of the styling things and, grow the social media. I'm a numbers person through and through. That is like my favorite thing to do. So I like bookkeeping and, financial tracking, all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't pass off. But some of those things like social media, I passed off for a little while and then it was something that I took back. So I just kind of half and half. Some of the things that I feel like I could pass off, helping input products or opening, closing the store, helping customers that way, fulfilling online orders. Those were kind of easy to pass off. And then the social media, I would pass off, take back, pass off, take back. I might be very picky on it because I think it's super important. And so I do like to do it.
It's nice that you can pick and choose like those, what you like. And it sounds like you've tried to get, like sometimes it's trial and error in terms of what you can find somebody that's a good fit to handle and what you need to manage yourself.
Yep. And I've done honestly everything in the business. I've never passed off something that I haven't done. So, everything that I have done up until now, I learned it, I, figured it out, and then I passed it off. So I truly know how to do everything in the business, which I think is super important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned wanting to open 5 stores eventually, that's kind of long-term for Fig and Willow. What's next for you guys kind of in the more immediate future?
Like I said, I think we would look for a warehouse space. I think trying to shift more to the home aspect that everybody is really loving and that convenience. So whether it's offering some kind of local delivery or we're doing like in-home pop-ups, those are a couple of things that we're maybe thinking, just trying to go with the times of where people want it. If somebody doesn't want to go into the store, how can we cater to them? Within reason, it all has to be manageable and we're not going to run the team ragged just trying to do in-home shopping. But I would really like to grow the online store and then long run look at maybe 3 more locations.
Wow.
We're in such a good maintain mode right now. And it just feels like we're in a good spot. I've got such a great team. I don't want to ruffle any feathers and try to do anything that's going to shake it up too much. And then it just becomes too complicated. So
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying not to stress people out and just kind of keep it easy.
So tell us what your favorite thing about being a mom in Jacksonville is.
I would say the community here and the people. I think there are so many fun things to do with your kids. Like I said, I was born in Alaska, but I grew up in Anna Maria Island, and the age range in Anna Maria Island was older. So there wasn't that family active community there. I mean, here you just have everything. You can go to these farms and mazes in the fall. You can do the apple picking, blueberry picking. You can go to the beaches. You could take them to a football game. I mean, I just feel like you name it, you can do it here. And, the Momcast, I just think that there's these amazing support communities here that you don't get everywhere. And, the Facebook groups for people, I think it's amazing. I think that your outreach of finding somebody to help you if you're struggling with something is just amazing here. And I truly think that everybody really cares. And so I would say it's just the community and the people that just make it amazing. And then second to that would be the activities that are in this area that you can do with your kids is great. I might not always have time to do everything with them that I want to do. And that is a struggle, but the options are there, which is great.
It's true. And I feel like every weekend from itty bitty to teens, there's something for everybody.
Yeah, it's great.
So we're going to close out for today. Thank you so much, Katie, and tell everybody where they can find you.
So personally, you can find me at on Instagram at Katie Werhner. If you want to follow me there. And then it's Fig and Willow Boutique is our social for Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. And then we're located in Neptune Beach and San Marco. And our website is shopfigandwillow.com.
Fantastic. And we'll put links to all of that in our show notes. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode of Jacksonville Momcast, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and follow us at Jacksonville Momcast on all the social medias for show updates and more information about our guests. To learn more about what you heard today, visit our show notes at jacksonvillemomcast.com. Thanks for listening.